You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Well, I was definitely expecting to be talking about a day of English cricket where we're four.
Quite a fun experience to do that. We've got a guest on. We need to make sure that Cameron feels welcome. Needs to, as you say, be a finely tuned machine that we're not. But some of the comments, someone Abel has put the thing. I thought I went deaf for a second, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, we're gaslighting as many of our YouTube followers as we possibly can. I of course am Max Brown. Hello, and how are we doing, Jack?
We're all good. We're all good. YouTube? Hello, everyone. You missed nothing except for introducing everyone. This is Cameron. He hasn't been on the podcast before. We're going to talk about the Ashes. If you're listening on the audio streams, you'll have no idea about what happened there and why we sounded so panicked and why Ross was having a go at me, because you will have been able to hear this. So it's.
Well, apart from when we explained that you're useless and they know exactly what happened. But
yeah. Do we have any messages for our listeners, Ross?
We should. If you like a Finely Oiled podcast, then this one is probably for you. So you should like this video. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, I don't know, Podbean, Pod Addict, whichever they are. And go over to our Twitter and follow us at the Cricket Pod, and on Instagram as well, which is also the same. And you can also get in touch with the show. We always love hearing your stories, whether that's below the line in terms of the comments on Twitter or emailing us, which is thecricketpod@gmail.com. And you can also go to Patreon, where you can buy one of your friends a Cricket Podcast Patreon membership.
Buy one of your friends?
Well, buy one of your friends a Cricket Podcast membership for the year. And what a lovely thing that would be.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing. Max, let's have a summary of the day.
Let's. Okay, so start of the day. England, they were in a spot of bother, weren't they? Let's be honest. Australia 221 for 2. Prospect of a long, hot day in the Adelaide sun ahead. So they really needed to hit the ground running and get their foot in the door. And in fairness, with Ollie Robinson taking on the rather arduous task of trying to get Labuschagne out twice, which he successfully did. England
should have tried
almost
that yesterday.
He should. Yeah. England almost got their foot in the door. I think they got as far as perhaps walking up the garden path and knocking on the front door as they took 3 wickets. And it had in Australia 5 down for about 280. But unfortunately for England, the man answering said door was Steve Smith. And he promptly shut the door in England's faces. And that sort of ended any hope England had of a fight back as they sat forlornly on the doorstep in the sun, waiting for something to happen. The only thing that really happened was Steve Smith sent his Rottweilers out in the form of Alex Carey and Mitchell Starc to chase them away, and that left England staring down the barrel of a very large first innings deficit. Turning around to England batting, and I've sort of been a bit cheeky in saying England have been going through the formality of removing Marcus Harris at the start of the Australia innings, and you could probably say Australia have been through the formality of removing England's openers at the start of the England's innings, as both Burns and Hamid fell fairly cheaply, and England were pretty much left with an hour to go, 2 men down, Root in the crease, needing nothing but divine intervention to save them. And what could be more divine than lightning from the sky to save England?
Literally
from,
hitting a cathedral.
From being 5 down. In the background, forks of light skewering the night sky as England were reprieved from an hour of swinging pink balls and dodgy batting to at least make it to the second day with Root there.
Yes, which is a plus. Let's talk about man of the day first, Michael Neser. He comes in, first knock in Test cricket, 34 off 25 balls, picks up a wicket in his first over. It's not often, and I tweeted this, this is a repeat of the joke, it's not often that you get to see the greatest day of someone's life beamed into your living room from 10,000 miles away. Cameron, you're new to the podcast. What's the greatest day of your life? As the first question, other than today, obviously.
In cricket or just in well,
interpret the question how you want.
Well, my sister's getting married next year. That'll be pretty good. Anything could be happening. The greatest day of my life
must be today, coming on the podcast, mate.
Yeah,
you and Michael Neser sharing that day together.
I was racking my brain. I was like, what did I think about Neser's performance today? I was going through all the players and I was like, what's the best day of your life, personally?
It's like that curveball interview question.
It is, yeah. I thought
how many tennis balls can you fit in this room?
You better start thinking about what your biggest flaw is soon.
Yeah, I know. Biggest weakness, biggest strength.
Michael Neser, he did have a good day, Cameron, didn't he? I don't know. I hadn't seen much of him going into this. I don't know if you had, but he looks a decent player.
So I follow 2 cricket journos, Barrett Sundaresan and Adam Collins, and they've been banging Neser's drum for years now, Barrett especially. And so it was kind of this weird kind of breaking of the fourth wall, where seeing someone play for the first time and kind of being like, well, I've known about this person through a hashtag for about 4 years or whatever, just seeing hashtag Neser must play. And it was just kind of laughably perfect. Like, he's come in and because England's whole game plan was like, let's play the waiting game, let's starve them, let's go at two runs and over. And like, yes, it didn't work in terms of like getting any wickets, which is important in cricket. But in terms of like starving Australia of runs, great. And Neser's come in at the end and they got like 46 off the last 4 overs of their innings, which up until that point had taken them almost a session to do. And so he's kind of sapped all idea of energy and momentum out of England. Then he's come on with the new ball. Hamid's walked away from the first one and it was like, that was a good ball actually. It's kind of just missed the top of off. And then he's got his wicket, second ball, and you've seen Khawaja running on and Mitchell swept from there. And everyone's just so happy for him. And it was a kind of sickeningly lovely moment of just seeing someone.
I hope they get fined. I hope they get fined for coming onto the field of play without permission from the umpire.
Wrong. It's a disgrace, which what it is.
I like the bit after that where he was serenaded by 300 people dressed as Richie Benaud. Imagine that's like something out of a weird fever dream, isn't it? When you've had too much cheese the night before. It's like...
You see how like I always think about this when people talk about the leap from like domestic to international cricket is. You watch Sheffield Shield, and it's obviously like an amazing standard. But they're playing it like Karen Rolton Park number 2 or something, or number 1 or whatever, and there's literally no one there. And you could go up and just have a watch if you were in the local area because it's in a park. And then the jump from that may only be so much in quality, but rather than being watched by nobody on a park, you're at the Adelaide Oval with 300 Richie Benaud impersonators kind of singing your name. Like, that's why people want to do that. That's why it's so much better playing international cricket. And yeah, he's had a great day. His best day of his life was now my best day of my life because I was so happy with him. That's my initial question.
It's a great answer. When we had David Gower on, he talked a little bit about that, didn't he? It's a bit of a tangent and a plug of episode 42, maybe, with David Gower. But he did say when he was dropped by England and he had to go back to Leicestershire near the end of his career, and they were like, go and make some runs, and he went out and he was just like, I cannot be bothered after playing for England. Like, going back to do this is just not what I want to be doing with my life. So he retired and became a commentator. And basically, he'd rather have commentated on international cricket than played the level below. So that's David Gower's point of view. Ross, let's go back to earlier in the day, the positive part for England. We speculated, didn't we? Max and I, so you weren't here, but we as the Cricket Podcast, we speculated that if England were to get back into the game, they'd need 4 or 5 wickets before lunch. They got 3. They didn't quite get the final breakthrough. But they did. They showed a little bit of fight, this morning.
Yeah, they did. It was interesting because England's approach to the whole bowling plan has been terrible to now. It's kind of been this like the Aussies are scared when they're in the 90s, so let's get their batsmen to the 90s and try to take advantage of that nervousness. That's seemingly been then we'll attack. We'll really get them. And it was good that we came out and got some wickets. Travis Head, after his brilliant 150, has gone back to missing a full toss from a part-time spinner. So that's nice that he is completely human. But again, England, they just sometimes let it drift. And sometimes they've obviously got a... like a football team has a bogey team, or any sports team has a bogey team, they just can't get it. Steve Smith is a bogey team for England. Like we're so scared of Steve Smith that any time that he comes out,
bogey team.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so we kind of let them off a little bit, but we shouldn't take anything away from the Australian innings. I thought they played it absolutely perfectly. Yes, they got a bit lucky, but you make your own luck, and England are shit. So it's one of those things where it's just, like, what more can you do? If you drop simple chances, that's going to happen.
I think England bowled wrong to Steve Smith, and weigh in if you disagree with this. So we saw India last Australian summer do quite well against him comparatively by bowling pretty straight but packing the leg side field, because he's going to go across and try and score through mid-wicket square leg. And you can kind of bore him out a little bit. He'll try something, he'll try a pull, he'll try a flick, he'll hit it to someone in the leg side, or potentially you can pin him LBW. You bring that back into play. I think England, after the 2019 Ashes, they got it in their heads that the way to get him out is to pretend there's like another set of stumps outside off stump and bowl at the top of the other set of stumps. But what he'd basically do there is leave until you bowl a bit full, then smash you through the covers, or wait for you to bowl a little bit straighter and flick your way through mid-wicket. And if you're going to bowl that line, you can't do what India did, which was just pack the leg side field, because you're bowling to a guy who's main scoring area is going to be through the offside. So I don't know, whether you agree with that, Ross, but I
think all our plans are shit. It winds me up. It just winds me up. Watching this England side, I just don't understand how England have got one of the biggest budgets in world cricket, and yet we just play Test cricket in completely the wrong way. We completely have no idea what we are doing, and how Chris Silverwood and Joe Root, and I mean the calls are now starting. We said there might be a mid-Ashes resignation or retirement. There might Sam Allardyce could well. Yeah, Sam Allardyce could well be in charge of this England team by the end of the Ashes. Like that it could actually happen.
What to save us from relegation into Tier 2 of the World Test Championship?
But it's like the selection of the bowling lineup. We kind of thought, do you know what? Stuart Broad, Anderson, Wokes, Robinson. They're all kind of similar. They're not exactly the same, obviously, but they're kind of similar. We'll rest Mark Wood, who is the difference maker, and we won't play a spinner. That whole logic is a little bit broken, I think. We know that Chris Wokes doesn't travel well. He's like a badly packaged soup that a moped is delivering to Max's COVID house at the moment.
That'd be nice.
It would be very nice. But to me, it just frustrates me that we've just got the same after same after same kind of thing. And it looks like we're all at sea at the moment, and Australia must be absolutely loving it.
Well, there's a problem there. I think you've hit on, Ross, that my theory is that actually we've got a bit of a problem, and the problem is possibly Chris Wokes, because he has to play because he can bat, but he's taking up a bowling slot and he's probably worse at it than Robinson, Anderson, or Broad in terms of the options we've got. Like at that, whatever it's because he's not going to open, so it's not going to do much because the Kookaburra ball is going to be fairly used by the time he gets to it, so it's not going to do a lot, and it just becomes a bit of a wasted bowling slot.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Cameron, what were you going to say?
I think Tim Wigmore has been quite interesting on this. He posted out like these stats about how Wokes, Anderson, and Broad, their figures from this Adelaide Test match are almost combined figures is almost identical to the one 4 years ago, and kind of all this preparation has gone into it, and we're in the same place. But I think the thing with Wokes is, I think one interesting thing is it's always been a Broad versus Leach question. You're kind of like, well, that's interesting. Like, why isn't it not Broad versus Robinson or Wokes? That just infers that Wokes and Robinson are ahead in the pecking order now. And I think it's another point that Wigmore made. He was like, we still kind of, it feels like England are in the kind of, let's pick our best 11 players as opposed to pick our best team. And so Wokes is in the best 11 cricketers in England. But the whole idea is like, right, if we've got this old Kookaburra ball, 65 overs, who do we want bowling with it? Mm-hmm. Do you want Chris Wokes to be your kind of point of difference when he's this kind of beautiful, perfect bowler? I don't think leaving Mark Wood out was that mental, just because
he's made of glass.
Yeah, basically it's like, well, he's going to break. And so you're like, well, we do really need you now. But this is another thing that I think is an interesting point, is that I feel like England often pick a team to play the next test match in mind, rather than the best team for that test match. So we are playing against New Zealand and we're like, right, we need to rest our players so they can come back for the India series. And the India series comes along, we're like, well, and it just kind of, with rest rotation, you've always got the next game in mind. So you kind of lose that instinct of, what do we need to win this test match right now? Like, if this was a one-off test match.
In cricket,
if this was a one-off test match,
you don't have an important Champions League match midweek. Like, it's the most important game most of the time is the game that you're about to play. So on Wood, there's a couple of things I'd say. He hadn't actually bowled for 7 days before the first day yesterday. So I understand the resting point, but England was so crap in the first test that they actually didn't need to work him too hard, and we got a nice break rest in between. Yeah, so we got away with that. The other thing, and I think it's a really important thing on Wokes and that old ball, and Max, I think we talked about this in the preview. Basically, in the first, I think it was 30 or 40 overs with the Kookaburra, it doesn't really matter what pace you bowl at. It's sort of what you can do with the ball. But as it gets older, what happens is that people who can bowl fast, they stay about the same level of effectiveness. They don't get better, but if you average 32, you're probably still going to average 32 in the 70th over of the ball's lifespan. If you bowl at 80 miles an hour, that just goes up and up and up and up and up, and then you get like the number 9.
And looky here, we got 5 of them.
it's and that's sort of where England are, isn't it? We saw it yesterday. Max talked about it at length, didn't we? They tried something different, banging it in short with Wokes, not Wokes, Stokes.
Both Centurions as well. That was nice.
Yeah. It's a pretty tough gig, isn't it? Cameron Green got out though, didn't he, for 2? That's a positive, Ross.
Yeah. It's always good to get. Like, he's got a monk on his back now, hasn't he?
We've got to crush him early.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
We're in their number 6's head. That's pretty good to have.
It's a key role.
It is. There is one thing I want to talk about, and I'm not sure. I didn't listen to your show yesterday because I've been working. But
right, big man.
How annoying Labuschagne is. Like, Labuschagne, unbelievably good. Like, scores loads of runs. Smith, unbelievably good. Scores loads of runs. Their elaborate leaving technique. Like, I know people were talking about it. And I know we've talked about it before on this show, but I'm trying to figure out why they do it. Is it because are they just doing it to put the other team off when they do it? Like there's just subconsciously like another marginal gain they're going for, because it can't be like a part of their technique. It must be some kind of mind game they're trying to play.
I actually think Marnus Labuschagne is batshit. I've not met him, but I just assume he's completely insane. That's the only thing I can
You do have a degree in psychology, though, don't you?
That's true. Yeah. So
of the people,
based on that,
of the people on this podcast who are positioned to make that assessment, you would be the one, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, there we go. That's confirmed. I think.
An official medical diagnosis live on the Cricket Podcast. I don't know. Yeah, go on, Cameron. I haven't got anything to add, so yeah.
I don't know if I'm making this up or if I've actually heard Labuschagne or Smith saying it, but I think they kind of talk about it as in like they want to still play a shot when they leave the ball. Like it's their way of being kind of positive and proactive, rather than just kind of. A friend of mine, his dad used to leave the ball by like not moving his hands or feet and just watching it go past and just kind of being like, well, I don't want to do anything with it. So like,
my mum used to do that in the garden.
Yeah, perfect. Like
garden cricket.
It's kind of most efficient way of leaving ever. Just don't do anything. Whereas Labuschagne, everyone talks about always take the positive action, always be positive in defence. And so he's like, if I whip my bat round, I've kind of played a shot, even though I haven't really. And like you hear some batters talk about,
run.
Yeah, no, all that type of it. And like Labuschagne does it because Smith does it. And Smith did it because he's the best player in the world, or was the best player, or whoever. And like they can only do it because they are amazing. Like everyone goes, oh, this would be so annoying to face. It's like, yeah, they're 100 not out again. Yeah. So they can do what they want.
It's only annoying off the 200th ball.
Yeah, well, Labuschagne faced 305 deliveries.
Yeah. Right. Anything else from that innings that anyone would like to touch on? We did talk about England not being very good at bowling yesterday. We did a whole show on it, so you can actually go back in time and listen to that. Anything else that jumped out to you? They weren't very good at fielding. Although we didn't talk too much about fielding yesterday. We talked a bit about Buttler. But Rory Burns, he is having a shocking series, isn't he? He's
having a nightmare.
Drops. Well, he got drops. Is it 3 drops now he's got? Overthrows.
That was good.
Terrible.
Yeah,
excellent.
The
ball went through his legs before. That was funny. He said fuck all runs as well. And he looks like a bloke who goes to a kids' party dressed up as a pirate to make balloon animals. And he'd be better at doing that now than opening the batting.
We talk about fielding quite a lot on the show, and I think it's worth mentioning it again because I feel like I don't know. I mean, there's got to be more to it than what's going on here. Like, surely having a fielder that can catch the ball is better than having a guy who can't catch the ball and can't bat. Like, there must be value. There must be value in that.
Is that Crawley coming back?
Can he field? I don't know. Maybe.
Probably not.
Maybe we just bring him back as a specialist fielder. He was on for a bit. I don't remember him making any mistakes. So maybe we bring Crawley back as a specialist fielder.
Yeah, the man who averages 11. Brilliant.
Right, let's talk about England batting, and we can carry on with the Rory Burns theme. But before we do, if you're watching over on YouTube, and we've got 209 concurrent viewers at the moment, thank you for tuning in. Sorry about our technical difficulties at the start of the show.
That's all right. We're fully into the England bashing now.
So, yeah, we're gonna go right.
We're going to talk about England's technical difficulties at the top of the
show. But yeah, hit like, hit subscribe, and if you're on another platform, also do the same thing. Rory Burns, who wants to go first?
Can I defend him before we slay
go
him?
for it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this would be good.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's meant to do with that ball. That's a seed. Like you're going to get them. It's gone off the straight Weber, and then afterwards, I found it quite funny. Cook was talking about it in the punditry. He was like, "You got to leave those," and then they dropped what's it called, like the Hawkeye ball tracker.
Yeah, top of life, wasn't it?
It was like hitting the top of the stumps, and you're like, "Well, you can't leave that." It's like gone. It's at him, and then it's sheared away. All you can hope to do is just miss it, and like it's just the life that Rory Burns is currently living, where you're like, "Well, yeah, of course I was going to get that one now," and he's going to be mentally shot. Like he's had this really weird test career where he's like 30 games in now, and he goes from being almost out of the team to being, this guy could be the next captain actually. He's now at the point. He's now I think at the lowest point where people are like, oh my
Century's
God,
coming. Century's coming.
Like, either that or he's not going to be playing. Like think about 3 more innings time. If he hasn't scored any more runs and has dropped 2 more catches, you can't play. But then he like. 3 innings ago, I was like, good player, this lad. I actually really like him. So that's my defence.
So I'm a Rory Burns fan. and because I like that he's a bit weird. But there is also a bit that
you just said he'd be better at a kid's party dressed as a pirate making balloons.
I've stolen this from someone on Twitter. But
he's a fan because he wants him to have a second career. He wants to keep him afloat.
Rory Burns, and Cameron, I agree with you on this. Like, last 20 innings include 7 ducks, 10 single-figure scores, and just 6 innings when he's gone past 25.
That is good.
On 8 occasions, he has lasted 5 balls or fewer. So that is no good. But this is England's, like, out of every batsman in England, or every batsman who qualifies for England, England's selectors have decided.
Sorry, Ross, are you defending Rory Burns here?
Yeah,
just to clarify.
Do you know what defending means?
I'm saying that he's been hung out to dry. You've got a guy who clearly is not good enough to do this. And yet he was the best option. He was the number 1 batsman. He was chosen as number 1 to go, yep, you're going for it. We had Dom Sibley, Zach Crawley and Haseeb Hameed. There are 4 best opening batsmen. That's not good enough. That is not good enough preparation, is it? Keaton Jennings was off the block as well. You're just like, where is the, what's the word? The runway for people to kind of come into this side who actually can open the batting and actually have demonstrated that they can do it.
Well, I mean, are we going to go back to the standard explanation of playing a Duke's ball in April against Darren Stevens?
Well, I don't even think that's the thing, yeah, because Rory Burns does average 40 in that scenario. Like he's got a career.
But
there.
the point being that the translation of that to Test cricket in Australia is completely.
Horses for courses is what I want the conversation
but
to go
to. But he doesn't do it in
Matt.
England against dibbly dobblers in Test matches, does he? I think it's probably just like a skill difference, or there's something in his game that doesn't work. I'd speculate that batting like his testicles are being electrocuted is part of the problem. Maybe he just needs to be a bit stiller. I'm not a batting coach. I don't do technical analysis really, but it does the dismissal, the 2 dismissals that I have seen live, him be bowled by Stark and then the one today where he was nicked off, both of them sort of come about because he's dancing around a little bit. I mean, it's the Cameron, you make a good point. The ball today is a really good ball. Sometimes you nick those, yeah. It's on a good length, it's hitting the stumps, it moves away, you have to play a shot at it. You're only just you're very new at the crease. He's a little bit in between. But even still, his front foot is sort of in 3 positions as he goes to address it. I don't think he's giving himself the best chance of hitting that, right?
The front foot thing is weird. Like when you throws that frame with Stark and you're like, why is your foot there? Like you can see the ball just a dip on the other side of the screen. But I have this, and again, I might be opening myself up to ridicule here, but I think Rory Burns is a very good children's entertainer. I think he could do both very well. Secondly, I think that he's got I think his eye thing, we kind of talk about like marginal gains. He does the eye thing so he can see the ball. That's the most maximum gain I've ever heard in my life. I want to be able to see the ball coming down towards me. Then he has his weird twist of the bat, but then from that moment, then he has his foot there. I don't know if I've just got into my head, but I don't think he's that weird. I think has his quirks at the beginning, and then I think from after that point, he's okay. But I think that stat's amazing, by the way. In 8 of his last 20 innings, he's got out in 5 or fewer balls. Mm-hmm. That's one of those things where you could just chuck anyone in and just see if they do better than that.
I saw it on Twitter just before we came on here, and I would love to give it credit, but I'll find it and give it credit. But
do you reckon you could do that? Anyone here think they could do better than that?
Well, you just don't need to, as long as they don't bowl a straight one, it's for 6 balls. And as we know from like Hawk or whatever, only 5% of balls are hitting the stumps. So maybe you'd be
leave
fine.
everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to nick it.
To start with, they're going to assume that you're good at cricket and try and hit just outside the top of off. So I reckon you've got an over. Like Jai Richardson's first over, I'm fine, aren't I? No, nowhere near this stuff.
If Cameron Ponsonby comes to the crease, you're just like, the guy's got a good cricketing name. Like straight off the bat, there's a bit of respect there already, right? There's a bit of respect there already. There's also another bit for Rory Burns. Rory Burns is unfortunately in the position where he is now being scapegoated for England being fundamentally poor at Test cricket.
Yeah, that was my final point. Like it is a Rory Burns problem because he's the bloke sort of going through it, but the fact of the matter is he's still probably the best one. Yeah, when he's gone, still the best. It's an England cricket problem more than before it's a Rory Burns problem. But Rory Burns is the bloke who we watch nick off in 5 balls or fewer, and you go, God, this guy's shit. Let's get someone else in, and then you get them in, and you go, this guy's even worse. And you just keep going round and round and round, basically.
And then you went back up at Keaton Jennings.
Yeah, we haven't quite got to the next Hasib, Hasib Hamid's looking like he's on the Rory Burns trajectory, in my opinion. I'm not sure, but I suppose from his point of view,
quite solid for 10 minutes.
From his point of view, he is young enough that we can still play. Potential with him, whereas Burns, because he's the wrong side of 30, we have to be like, we need someone younger in, and people really like Zach Crawley's cover drive. We've been through this with Vince. I'm not convinced that's how you should assess a Test cricketer, but a lot of people, that is the main thing they want in a player is, can he ping it through extra cover? So maybe we just go to him. He'll hit a nice couple of drives.
We judge a guy called Jake Smith in our cricket team on his cover drive because it's his only shot he has, and he rarely connects, but we have a good opinion of him.
We got a nice bit of robot voice there, I think, from Ross. But you made the point. Jake Smith plays the cover drive every ball. Maybe that's what we need. The future of English Test opening is just a guy who plays the cover drive every ball.
That's what Jason Roy was.
That is true. Yeah. Maybe it's then. What other shots?
We're going full circle again.
He's back, robot voice. Yeah. Anything else on England's batting before we get to the questions? And
then Hamid's dismissal.
Dreadful.
Very soft.
What
Very
was that?
soft.
Doesn't help, does it?
I was decorating my Christmas tree and I heard it happening on the. I didn't even.
Yeah, he basically just clipped a ball from just outside off stump straight into the mitts of mid-on.
I could tell.
As usual, the Australian commentators were trying to, just go off on one about how it was brilliant plans and wonderful thinking from Australia. They've done all their homework to look at how Hamid plays across his pads. Like, mate, he's just played a bad shot and clipped it to mid-on. There's no plan involved there. That was just bad.
Harsha Bogle managed to give that one to Dhoni, actually. That was all Dhoni's
doing. I could tell from the way the commentators were talking about it that was just one dismissal that you didn't need to see before lunch.
My only concern about Hamid is that he hasn't got a score yet, but he's had three, both his innings in the first match were 50 balls. This is 20 balls. And as Rory Burns, we've just talked about Rory Burns, you're going to nick off in your first 5 or 10 balls as an opener. Mm. And so you I'm like, oh no, have we had your good innings and you just haven't capitalised on them? And in 2 games' time, we're going to be like, oh God, Hamid's averaging 15. And then there's just eternal pessimism when talking about the England batting lineup. It's just, how many other players? Harry Brook's going to be opening the batting for England by the end of the Test series.
I don't think he will be because they've sent home all the backups. So it's
he's playing for the Hobart Hurricanes.
Oh, okay, all right. So we've got the guys in the Big Bash. Is Liam Livingstone about that he can come in open?
James Vince will be back in by the end.
To be fair, Jack. To be fair, Liam Livingstone, we are probably going to be in need of a spinner, aren't we?
Yeah, that's true. We had a couple of questions in from Twitter, and one of these is from Adam Dallamore. We'll do that one first. Why do England bowl so many no balls? What's the need to push the line so much? I mean, I would understand if the bowlers bowled at 90 miles an hour, but we are just over 80. As discussed on previous shows, within the white ball setup, they seem to be crack hot on it and avoid it at all costs. But in the Ashes series, we have done it so often. So my question is, why do we need to push the line? They've been bowling a no ball that's been called, so they've actually bowled more no balls than this. A no ball that's been called every 15 overs, Ross. Is that good cricket?
Not good cricket, no. The technology is at least working in this Test match, I hope.
Yeah.
That's some positive from the first game. I think it's because some of our bowlers can't actually control their emotions very well. And I think they get so pumped up into that bit. You can't tell me that Stokes is one of those people who doesn't run on emotion, right? He gets back to his line. He's not looking at the ground where his footmark is. He's just going, I'm going to go and take Labuschagne's head off. And he's just like, I've overstepped by 2 yards. Oh, I've done it again. I'm
going to test this theory, Ross, by see if we can see what the England bowlers were doing. Because if you're right, then Wokes didn't bowl any no balls and all of the others did. That's the theory, isn't it?
I just love the idea. You could be like, well, why have you bowled a no ball today? I was just really sad. Really sad.
Yeah. You know how in T20 cricket, Lemon Man puts up his little numbers, so Morgan knows what to do, and then sometimes remembers what it means, sometimes remembers what it doesn't mean. Maybe they just put up like a calming duck egg blue or something like that, just so they can they'll look at them and be like, "Calm down, Ollie Robinson, calm down." No balls. We've solved it.
Maybe
I'm afraid, Ross, Chris Rokes bowled 2 no balls. Do
you reckon that was when he was going at 8 and over? when Stark, who is averaging more than any other England batter other than Joe Root since 2019, maybe Milan.
I think it's just because they don't prepare well, and they don't think that they need to worry about those things. In white ball cricket, I think we talked about this. They went like 2 years without bowling a no ball. They bowled thousands of overs without bowling a no ball. But in that format, I think someone has made it clear to the bowlers that it's extremely important not to bowl no balls, because not only do you potentially concede a wicket or take a wicket and it not count, but you get the free hit. Yeah. For whatever reason, in Test cricket, they've decided that isn't a concern that they need to. I mean, obviously the free hit does change the dynamic slightly, but still. As you sort of said earlier, Cameron, wickets are important in cricket. So why go through the motions of bowling a ball that you can't take a wicket from? Gives the other team a single. I mean, if you think about it as well, like England will make Ben Stokes dive around in the field. Like, it's not acceptable to play Test cricket for England unless you're going to put your body on the line to stop like a single. But now we'll just overstep 19 times in 200 overs, which is it's weak. It's weak cricket, isn't it? And we got one from VJ. Hey guys, before we lose this in the discussion about England's batting, what do you think? Was it just a bad toss to lose, or is there something else the England bowlers could have done? Not to think of the missed chances and no balls. So it's along the same theme. Cameron, what do you think about VJ's question there?
I think England yesterday were borderline fine, and I think we've kind of almost played into, with the chances we've missed, the knock-on effect, we've kind of played into people's legends. So like Labuschagne, it's like, oh my god, he scored another 100. The guy averages 63 in Test cricket, whatever. It's like, we got 100 for 4, and the bloke averages 60 in Test cricket. Like if you drop him on 21 or on 20 or whatever he was on, like these are the moments that are going to completely change the game. And you go, and now I've seen a lot of stats about how many chances England have missed. And not all drop catches are the same, but like you just go, Butler's kind of shocker last night. That, runs wise, you can go, it only cost England 10 runs. You go, it didn't cost England 10 runs because it cost them having a go at Travis Heads last night, and maybe you get him as well, or maybe you get a night watchman in, and then you get Cameron Green starting this morning. And I think Ian Higgins on the Great Cricketer podcast, I think summed up England really well, where he said, England are really, really close to being a good team, but they're fucking shit.
I don't think I think they've got 6 passengers.
There's just like there's so many things have to go right for everything to come together, and then something fails them. So I think England's bowlers, this like the kind of the tail of the tape yesterday was, all right, lads, like just didn't really quite go away today, and then you play this long game, and then all of a sudden shock. Australia waited longer than us. They got 140 overs into their innings, and they went, well, we're actually going to go at 9s for the last 10 or whatever it was. And that was just going to ruin everything you've done. And so you think, oh, brilliant. So we were almost good, and it's ended in disastrous circumstances where the game's over, realistically.
And they're not even... And we're again seeing it blaming the bowlers, and I know the bowlers will be the only ones here. But England's batting is so terrible that all they do is get flogged every single Test match.
We're blaming the bowlers for not digging us out of the hole that we've created ourselves for the last 5 years. Basically, we can't bat. We picked the wrong team, and the result is that we need our bowlers to bowl really well and to take every chance. And to take every chance that comes our way. Like that's the problem.
Right.
And if we don't take every chance.
Obviously, I got a text from a friend earlier this week and it was Anderson and Broad coming in. He just went, why does playing Anderson and Broad stop us from getting bowled out for 150? And you're like, that is kind of, we're shuffling the deck over here, and you're like, no, the fires. We're putting out fires where they don't really exist, and then over there, like the house is on fire.
Just teach someone to bat.
Right,
we're gonna
come good. It'll be fine.
We're going to wrap up the show here because we've got to send Ross back to work. If you've been watching along on YouTube, Tom, Vasanth, Paul, Anurag, Rahul, Jimmy, Bino, One Eye, That's good. Etc. Etc. Thank you very much. Hit like, hit subscribe. We're on the road to 10,000 subs, and then we can start selling you T-shirts, which is why we started this in the first place.
That's the dream.
Yeah. So do that. Before we wrap up, though, Cameron, can you let people know where to find you and what you're up to in the cricket space?
So I'm kind of a freelance writer for kind of do stuff for Wisden and Cricinfo mainly. My Twitter name is just at my name, Cameron Ponsonby, and that's probably the best. I think that's the first time I've ever got to plug myself, so that was very exciting.
Oh, well, you should have done it, yeah.
But we're just adding to the best day of your life.
How true.
Right, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at The Cricket Pod. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/The Cricket Pod if you want us to answer your questions on this show and other stuff. Bye-bye, everyone.
I love a good Zoom wave.